This is episode number 21 with Janna Scharfenberg. Welcome to the Glow Life podcast. I'm your host, Martina Fink, holistic health and beauty coach, Glow Camp retreat host, and eco lifestyle lover. I'm here to inspire you to live a glowing life day in and day out because you deserve the best life ever. Every week, I'll be interviewing international influencers, wellness pioneers, and health and beauty experts who are using their special gifts to make a difference in the world so you can feel healthy, confident, empowered, and beautiful. Okay, let's glow, girl. Janna Scharfenberg is a medical doctor, yoga teacher, and Ayurveda expert, and she has her own podcast as well, the In Good Health podcast, which is in German. She supports people on their journey to living a healthy and vibrant life through holistic medicine, Ayurveda, and yoga. She also educates yoga teachers in anatomy, Ayurveda, health, and business because they are doing such great work in the world and are perfect multipliers for teaching their students all about well-being. Janna believes that health is the most important thing in our life, but most people know so little about how to simply stay healthy with joy. So she's here to inspire you to take good care of yourself and live your life to the fullest while having a lot of fun as well. In today's episode, we talk about the life concept of yoga, the power of Ayurveda, which in Sanskrit means wisdom of life, and how you can use it in your daily life, the three doshas that represent the elements of air, fire, and earth, simple Ayurvedic practices for a healthy lifestyle, why you should break the rules and not try to be perfect, how the energy in food affects your life, and so much more. And you can find everything we talk about today in the show notes at martinafink.com/podcast/21. And before we dive into this ancient wisdom, I want to share my top glow tip of the day with you. And that's basically inspired by today's episode. It's an Ayurvedic practice that you can do several times a day, and it's just to drink a glass of warm water. Apparently, that is better for the body because your body doesn't need to heat up the water, and it's very good for digestion. So go grab your glass of water and drink some warm water right now as you're listening to this and give your body some fire in your stomach. Hopefully you have been able to follow my journey while I was in Bali with my glow campers in the retreat or even my trip after. And yeah, I just love traveling and I love getting together with beautiful souls who want to make a difference in their lives and are ready to change things for the better and, are ready to look within and really, be honest with themselves and make those changes that may seem to be so hard. So if you feel like you need a trip like this, definitely let me know because we have 2 retreats coming up in the new year. We're going to Costa Rica in January and we're going to Greece in May. And we are going to do some deep work on ourselves, up the self-confidence, up the health, and just work on our glow so that everyone can live a glowing life. So all you need to do is go to martinafink.com/retreats. And if you're ready to sign up, you can just sign up right there and save your spot because they are very limited. And if you have any questions, you can book a call with me right on that page as well. Or you can just send me a DM on my Instagram at Martina Glows. And yeah, can't wait to work with you and meditate with you and have fun pool parties with you in either Costa Rica or Greece or both. Just go to martinafink.com/retreats. Exciting! And now let's get started with the beautiful Janna Scharfenberg. Welcome, Janna. I'm so happy to talk to you today about yoga and Ayurveda and so many interesting topics.
Thank you so much, Martina, for having me here. It's such an honor.
I think your path is very unusual for a yoga teacher, to come from this very medical background. Can you tell us how you decided to go this path and how you got here?
Yeah, so actually my journey started, when I finished school and I decided, my biggest passion in life is to help people discover their healthy lifestyle, to stay healthy, to work on their bodies and stuff like that. So at that time, it seemed so logical to me to study medicine. So I went to medical school, and I really actually enjoyed it there, especially the first few years, because we learned so much about the body. But the more we moved from the theory to the more practical side, so the more I went for internships to different hospitals, that was really eye-opening, because everything, or a lot of things, I kind of imagined I would learn, or I would be able to do when I finished med school, was just not there. So I couldn't really find what I was looking for. And yeah, this really brought me to a point where I was, a very low point in my life, let's call it like that, because for years I was thinking, okay, this is my path and this is what I would like to do. And I really projected it on me, like, this is who I am. And suddenly I couldn't find myself there anymore. And this is when I started to practice yoga for myself. And that was a big eye-opener too, because I could really discover, a lot of things I'm looking for, answers I was looking for in the conventional medicine are actually in this very interesting philosophy of yoga. And from yoga, I got introduced to Ayurveda, because yoga and Ayurveda, and we'll probably get into that in a few minutes, they are very linked to each other. They belong to each other. And suddenly, a whole new world was opened up to me. And suddenly I could see again, this is, what I imagined I want to do. It's just not on the path I imagined to find it.
Interesting. And, as you were talking about how you were disappointed on your path because you expected something different, I actually resonated with that. I never really thought about it, but now that I'm thinking, I studied translation and interpreting, and I've always loved languages, and I've always loved speaking, traveling and using the language, but I couldn't see myself sitting on a desk translating texts for the rest of my life. And after I finished my studies, and I had a dream to become an interpreter and use the spoken language more than the written language. But then I was like, I don't want to translate, conferences about herbicides or the new shoes, or anything that I didn't feel passionate about. So I feel like probably a lot of people resonate with that, where they, study a certain topic and go on a certain career, and then they get disappointed because it's not what they think it is. And that's why I think it's so important to listen to your body and to be open to new opportunities. You probably didn't start with yoga thinking that you would, today have this course for yoga teachers where you teach them how to build their own businesses. I mean, it's just all about being open all the time and taking those opportunities that show up for you.
Absolutely. And it's just so much more, 2 points. I mean, you talk so much about self-care. And for me, it was like, I need something to take better care of myself. And this is how I discovered yoga. It was not like, oh, I see a business opportunity there. Absolutely not. And when I practiced yoga for myself, I could discover, this is, where life is leading me. It's more about trusting the process. And I think the more we are in jobs or in fields where everybody from the outside is also, projecting something on us. I mean, when you study medicine, everybody is just assuming you will become a medical doctor who's working in the hospital. And now so many people ask me, aren't you disappointed that you're not working as a doctor? And I'm always saying no, because, I work as a doctor just in my own variation of it.
I love that. And I think we always have these expectations of what a job needs to look like, but then doing that certain job doesn't mean that you're happy with it,
Yeah, 100%.
And actually, again, I could see myself in what you're saying when I first got into makeup, 6 years ago, probably, when I became a makeup artist. I never thought I would do this for, to do makeup on other people and anything like that. I just did it to kind of add in some more creativity into my own life, because I've lost that during my career at Apple. So yeah, through that new paths have opened. And it's exactly that, what you said. When you do the self-care and you spend that time with yourself, you just check in with yourself more and you connect with your higher self, which is how I like to see it, and really understand what would make you happy.
Yeah.
So you're the first guest on my podcast that is actually into yoga professionally.
Ooh.
So I would love to know from you, I'm pretty sure everyone listening, everyone is into health and conscious living, but doesn't mean that we really understand what yoga truly is. Can you give us an introduction to yoga?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's very interesting that you're talking about the asana, so the physical practice, and these are the things we mainly see from the outside, and it's getting back to the expectations we have of a certain topic or a certain thing. And this is the same with yoga. I mean, we always see yogis, in front of a sunset, how they do crazy handstands and stuff like that. So a lot of people are assuming, yoga is very physical and very acrobatic. And it's so not the case. I mean, it can be the case, yes. But the actual idea of yoga is that it's a whole life concept. It's a concept on how we live our life, how we take care of ourselves, how we take care of other people, what is important to us. And it's just a lot of different aspects which come together. And yes, a physical practice is one thing, but it's only one thing. It's also the meditation part, the part how I nurture myself, regarding the food I'm taking in, regarding the water I'm drinking, regarding also the thoughts I'm having. And it's also, do I live aligned with my inner light? Do I do the things I really, really want to do in this life? And yeah, how do I want to live this message? It's all about that. So it's very interesting that in the Western world, still the one tiny physical part is so present to all of us.
I remember a client of mine once messaged me saying, can you tell me how I can learn this pose? And it was like a crazy handstand thing. I want to get into yoga. And I told her, this is not about doing the crazy things. I've been practicing yoga for several years now, and I still can't do any of them. So
yeah, me neither. And, I think it's absolutely okay if this is the door you choose to enter, to invite yoga into your life. There's always one thing triggering us or, speaking to us why we want to do that. And of course, it's totally fine when you say, hey, I want to get more flexible, or I want to try to do a handstand, or I want to be more relaxed, or whatever that means, whatever is calling you on the yoga mat. And once you're there, it's just, evolving. It's showing you, there's just so much more. I think it's same with you in makeup. Of course, people do want to have a good makeup because they want to look good, they want to feel good. But once they start with that, they just feel for themselves, it's all on the inside. And it's like, the glow you're always talking about.
Yeah, totally. And I think when it comes to yoga as well, it's not something that I personally fell in love with from day one. I've definitely been like trying different classes for like a year or two, very sporadically, maybe like one class in 2 months or 3 months even. And I just didn't feel it. And also my mom has been practicing yoga for probably like 20 years or so, and she totally loves it. So I think for me, it's always been that like, oh, mom does yoga, so it cannot be cool when I was a teenager. But she's actually so flexible, and I absolutely admire that she does that for herself, that she's been doing that for such a long time. So even for me, like it took me so many years to get into yoga. And then I practiced on a weekly basis, more or less, where I had a teacher come to my home. And I had to have her come because if she didn't come, I would always not go to class. I have a yoga studio about 7 minutes walk from my home, and I still sometimes can't push myself to go. So that's why I notice I need to have someone come to me that I cannot cancel. And now I practice yoga mostly every morning. And even though it's just 10 minutes or 15 minutes, it just feels so good. And my body's even craving this little, flow of movements take some deep breath, like spread your arms
Mm.
and it's so crazy how 5 or 10, 15 minutes can make such a difference in how you feel.
Yeah. And actually these small amounts of time we choose to take care of ourselves, these are, what's adding up in the end. It's not this one yoga class we're taking every other month. No, it's what we're doing every day. And so it doesn't have to be something crazy or big, but it's these 10 minutes we are using every day to really tune in with ourselves, taking the time for ourselves and listening to our body.
Yeah, and what helped me as well now that I'm doing daily yoga is just listen to my body and tune in. What do I feel like doing today? Do I feel like, doing the chaturanga, or am I not that energetic today? Or do I want to do some flows and then maybe I look up something on YouTube? Or do I just want to do some, currently working on my hip openers? Do I just want to sit in those for like 5 minutes or so? So I really just listen to my body and feel into what would feel good on that very day, but I still do something.
Mhm.
So for someone who is maybe, trying to start yoga, like I used to do a few years ago and can't really fall in love with it, what would be your number one tip for someone to really practice yoga regularly?
Yeah. I think the most important thing is don't push yourself. If you have the feeling this is not for me, I don't like it, just stay open and try different things because there are so many different yoga styles out there. And even if you're not into this asana practice on the mat, there are so many different aspects. So, just take a few different opportunities to try something new. If that's at a studio or if that's maybe with YouTube or another tutorial, just try, and I'm sure at some point there will be some kind of style, some kind of teacher where you're really clicking with. And if that's not the case, I mean, there's also a huge part of yoga you can still have in your life. Like I work a lot with athletes as well. And I have one athlete who's a marathon runner. And she says,
Mm.
I like yoga, but it's not for me. And meditation, it's not for me. And when I ask her, what's happening in your head when you're running for several hours every day? And she's saying, nothing. I'm totally kind of blacked out. And I'm like, you know what you're doing? You're doing a meditation while you're running. So running is your yoga actually. She's like, aha,
Mm.
okay, now I get it. So just see, what feels good for you. What do you want to try? And don't be hard to yourself when you have the feeling, oh, this is all not for me. Just try it every now and then again. And it's also, the life circumstances which will bring us to the right yoga style when we're ready for it.
Love that. You will find what you need when you're ready for it. And I totally agree about the teacher. I think it really depends so much on who your teacher is. And I remember one of my very first yoga classes, probably about over 5 years ago. I was in Sri Lanka with my best friend. He's from Sri Lanka originally. And we went to his uncle's class, and it was a room, it was not even air conditioned. It was so hot. It was Sunday morning, 6 o'clock. And it was just such a blissful experience. And I don't know if you've ever seen this image, or this drawing from the unicorn. It's the unicorn in gray, like it's basically a gray unicorn, and it says before yoga. And then there's a colorful, like rainbow colored unicorn that says after yoga.
Yeah.
And I should probably put that in the show notes. And it's just so true. Every time I go to yoga, I don't know exactly what happens, but something happens that I feel like all colors, definitely like all the chakras are obviously open and
Yeah.
aligned, but
Yeah.
it's just so beautiful when you're open to that experience.
Yeah. I also would like to add, yoga is not there to necessarily making us feel good every day. It's a practice, it's a very, very deep practice, which is speaking to all our chakras, all our different layers we're made of. So it's not there to give us a well-being experience every day. Of course, in the long run, it should make us feel good, but it's also just a very honest and deep practice. And sometimes it's, not that comfortable. Sometimes it's taking us out of our comfort zone. And sometimes we're this rainbow unicorn.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's also for me a practice where I can see that I'm making progress. I notice how my core gets stronger, how my back gets stronger, how like I wasn't able to do chaturanga until just a few months ago. I would always tell myself, I can't do this. This is too hard for me. And now I can do it. And you really see how you're getting stronger in your body. And that's just such a fulfilling feeling.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Ayurveda. You are an expert in that as well, and you teach it too. What is Ayurveda? Can you explain, give us a broad overview of what Ayurveda really is?
Yeah. If you look at the word Ayurveda itself, it's a Sanskrit word. So this is the ancient Indian language. And if you would translate it into English, it means as much as the wisdom of life. And I really, really love it because it's not Indian medicine or traditional medicine. No, it's the whole wisdom of life. And it's a bit congruent with yoga. It's different aspects which are included. And of course, that's nutrition, that's detox things, that's how to live with your own energy, but it's also how to live in your own biorhythm. How can you live in rhythm with your nature, which is inside yourself, but also surrounding us. It's also how do I design my surrounding? Where do I live? Does that feel right to me? How's the architecture which is surrounding me? Also a lot about our senses, essential oils and pranayama, meditation, all these things are included into that. And if we break it down, it's of course linked to the ancient and traditional style, how medicine is practiced in India. So of course, a lot of herbs and natural medications are involved too. But yeah, it's also a whole life concept.
Yeah, so I think probably most common is the food part of Ayurveda. And I know there are the three different doshas, the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Can you explain these and give us an overview of what that includes?
Yes, absolutely. So when we dive deeper into Ayurveda, we need to understand that everything that we have in nature, we also have that inside of ourselves because we are all creations of the beautiful nature which is surrounding us, of Mother Earth. And there are a few elements we always find in our nature, like fire, water, wind, and stuff like that. And in Ayurveda, we have that concept that there are three major energies. And these are also called the doshas, you already mentioned. And we all, have these energies inside of us. And yeah, they're everywhere around us and in everything we do. A little bit like the chakra concept, but also a little bit different. So the three main energies, as you mentioned, are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And if we want to keep it a little bit more simple here, we can say Vata is the energy or the concept of air, of movement. We have Pitta, which is the concept of fire, of transformation. And we have the concept of Kapha, which is more about the earthy part. So everything grounding, centering, and giving us stabilization. And we need all these three parts in whatever we do. We look at our physical body, we need these parts. If we don't have the earth part, we wouldn't exist in our physical body. We wouldn't have bones, muscles, skin, and stuff like that. If we wouldn't have the fire part, we wouldn't be able, to digest food or to have metabolic processes which are happening in every single second in our body. And if we wouldn't have the concept of movement, we couldn't do anything. We couldn't, communicate. We couldn't move. We couldn't, all the nerves couldn't function in our body. And you can get this concept on everything. You can apply it on the different seasons. You can also apply it to your food. Yeah. For example, we have food which is more grounding and earthy. We have food which is more energizing. And we also have light food, which is also more stimulating.
I love that. And it is somehow similar to the chakras. I agree. Because the kapha, the earth energy, is more the lower chakras, and the fire is definitely solar plexus. and then air is more the upper chakras. So that's really interesting. So what would be your best Ayurveda tips for health that, that are simple, that we can use on a daily basis?
So the concept of Ayurveda, it's often said that it's so complicated and you have to know so much about your own constitution and body type, and there are only certain things you are allowed to eat. And I would say this is all not true. This is just, what our Western mind tries to take out of it, because we love rules. We love that somebody tells us what we have to do instead of feeling what we need to do for ourselves. But if you break the whole wisdom of Ayurveda down, it's more about, what really feels good for yourself, what is nurturing you. So we have the same concept again as in yoga. And there are a few things everybody can do. So the first thing would be really getting the thought out of your head that there are any rules, anything everybody should do. It's more about how you feel, what feels good to you. The second would be Ayurveda is having this concept, that nobody is perfect, and we don't need to be, because we're all whole. We don't need to be perfect. And if we want to talk a bit more specific, it's when we have a look at food, it's eating food that really is nourishing to us. So in Ayurveda, we mainly eat cooked food. This doesn't mean that you're not allowed to have your smoothie. Of course, you can still have your smoothie, but it's more, this idea that if we eat warm food, it's just better for our energetic body and it's easier to digest. And this is, of course, varying also with the seasons. So in summer, now we're in a fire season, so in Pitta. So the whole transformation process in our body is really high. So now is a good time to have a green smoothie in the morning. When we're in winter, where it's cold, where everything is a bit slower, we actually don't really feel like a smoothie anyhow. So there's more the time where we should have warm food. So see that you can get fresh and nicely cooked food a lot into your day, especially in winter time. Drink a lot of warm water. This is something that is very specific to Ayurveda. The warm water is helping, our prana to flow, getting our Agni, which is our inner fire, is really activating that. And it's really hydrating our body in a very nice way. What else can I say? It's a lot about rituals, cleansing rituals. And this doesn't mean we have to do a juice cleanse for like 20 days to finally feel perfect. It's more about what can I do every day to cleanse myself. And this is a lot, with oil massages I can do at home for myself. For example, sesame oil in the evening, applied on your skin. You can even infuse it with essential oils to really have this grounding and calming effect. And other cleansing rituals would be in the morning, and every listener can do that and start with that right away, that in the morning when you wake up, the first thing you do is cleaning your tongue with a tongue scraper. This is something you can buy for a few dollars or euros, and just clean the tongue in the morning, that all the toxins we have on our tongue, that we can get rid of those. Another thing would be, and that's also very easy, is the concept of oil pulling, that we take in the morning 1 teaspoon of oil, sesame oil, linseed oil, coconut oil, whatever you like for the beginning. Take 1 teaspoon in your mouth and really squish it around in your mouth, between your teeth and everywhere, so the whole mouth is getting clean. Because here, most of the time, we just brush our teeth and that's it. But there is so much more going on in our mouth. And these tiny, itsy-bitsy cleansing rituals in the morning help us to really detox, to be fresh, and also are helping our digestion to really, really be active.
I love that. And I think oil pulling also helps with acne and skin issues in the long run. And even sometimes when I have a sore throat or I feel that something is coming up, I should do oil pulling every day, but I haven't been consistent. But then I notice this is something that can help me immediately. So I love everything you said. Like, no rules, so important, because we always try to stick to the rules. And then when we stick to the rules, it's also how we can break them. So yeah, nobody's perfect. Love that too, because we're always trying to strive for perfection, which is, absolute nonsense. One thing I wanted to ask you, I remember when I was in the training to become a health coach, there was also someone talking about Ayurveda, I believe. And the reason, I think it was, there's people who like pre-cook all their meals for the entire week and then freeze everything to be, to have fresh food all the time. And I remember, I think someone said that in terms of Ayurveda, it's not good for the energy of the food to freeze it and then cook it again. Does that make sense?
Well, we have to look at this, from a few different points of view. So when you look at Ayurveda and also traditional Chinese medicine, there the concept of food is not, how many protein and fat and how many vitamins are in there. It's more about how much prana, how much life energy, how much chi, whatever you want to call it, you have in the food. And the life energy comes from the quality of the food, but also how it's prepared. How is the cook at the moment when he cooks it? Are you cooking your food when you're super angry, watching Netflix and nibbling on chips by the side? Or are you really focused on it, and are you pouring your love into the meal? Sounds a bit woo-woo, but I think it's, a very nice concept to think about it. Everything we do, we should always think about the intention we are doing it with. And of course, the fresher the food, and if it's freshly cooked, the higher the prana or energy amount is. But on the other hand, we also have to look at this, I would say, a little bit, through the lenses of our modern world. All these ideas of Ayurveda and also Chinese medicine, where you have actually quite a similar concept, are coming from a very traditional and ancient time. So maybe I'm not making, when I'm saying this, not everybody will agree with that from the Ayurveda world, but I'm also very big fan of translating ancient knowledge in our modern world. So when you look back, nobody had fridges there, but everybody had, a huge family tribe who was always able to cook fresh food. And it was always very important to cook it fresh. Otherwise, it could have gone bad. So I think we always need to find a way how to apply it to our modern world. So even in my home, it's not that I have the whole day to cook, even if I love to cook, but it's more about thinking, when does it make sense, when I'm really in the mood to cook, when is the intention right, and when is it better for me to, do cooking in a batch and freeze it so that I'm still nourished for the rest of the week, because the week will be a bit crazy time-wise, and then I still have something to eat. And if I'm sticking too much to the concept of, it needs to be every time freshly cooked, it just gives me a bad feeling, I'm probably not able to eat something healthy, because then I don't have any time at all. Does that make sense?
It makes so much sense. It's all about the balance as well.
Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned the energy we put into the food. In the health coaching community, we call that vitamin L. So that stands for vitamin love that we put into the food. And I really believe you can feel the difference. Even when you go to a restaurant, you can feel if that meal was prepared with love or not.
Yeah.
Just so important what state you're in when you're preparing your meals.
Absolutely. And for example, in the Ayurvedic hospitals I always go to in India, to gain more knowledge. They're the people who actually prepare all the medical herbs. They have to go through a very, very big process before they are even allowed to work with the plants. They have to be in a total right mindset, in a good energy, before they are even allowed to touch the plants which are able to heal. And I find that very, very interesting.
That is very interesting. That just makes so much sense. Even, especially, I do Reiki sometimes in my clients, and I have to be in the right, even for coaching, I have to be in the right mindset, in the right energy to help someone else. So anyone out there who is doing some sort of work where you're supporting and helping other people, you need to be in the right mindset and the right energy before you do that kind of work.
And I think intention is everything. When your intention is, I want to be healthy, so I'm skinny, it will never work. I want to be healthy so that I look good. Yes, maybe it works a little bit, but not in the long run. So always check what is your true intention, and what do you really, really want to go for?
Love that. I would love to talk a bit more about your personal development and everything that you've gone through. Was there ever any specific transformational experience that changed everything in your life?
Well, I think the first experience was actually when I discovered yoga and Ayurveda, because it was not only on my personal level, but also on my professional side as a medical doctor. It was just a huge eye opener, like, aha, there is more. If I, try to focus or broaden my view on things, I can find the answers, even if I don't expect them there. So that was probably a big, big turning point. The other point was a few years ago when I could really feel, okay, I'm about to finish medical school, and then it's about what do I want to do then? How do I see myself, in the working world? I figured for myself, it will be hard to figure that out alone. And that was the first time I was thinking about working with a coach. And even if I'm a bit embarrassed to admit that, in the first moment, I was like, a life coach? What are they actually doing? Come on, let's hop on a call with one and see if they are actually doing anything. Very stupid, I know. But once I was on the phone with a very, very good life coach, in about 30 minutes, she really got so deep into the things I was carrying around with me, blockages, mindset stuff. I was really hooked. I was like, wow, this is powerful. If you have somebody who helps you and who's very honest with you and is there to support you to live the best version of yourself, it's so, so powerful. I think these two things were life changing for me. And of course, it was also very life changing for me to start my own business and to see, oh, it really works. If I believe in it, if, I put all my heart and soul into it, it works. And it's not hard work. It's the very, very aligned work.
I totally agree. And the first thing I want to say regarding, asking for help, I don't think you need to be embarrassed at all. I just think if you want to become better with who you are, you need to do something about it. And if you were able to figure it out by yourself, you would have probably done that already.
Yes.
So since you are not there, like I'm talking to the audience, if there's anything in your life that you want to have that you can't figure out how to get there, ask someone for help. And it's not showing a weakness. It's actually showing a strength that you are ready to make the best out of you. And I first hired a business coach and we ended up doing life coaching all the time. Like she helped me with my business a little bit, but most of the things were really, the things I believed about myself and the beliefs and the mindset I had towards my business and my life, and in particular myself. So, if there's anything you want to work on, find someone who can find someone who has done the same thing that you want, or find someone who can help you just develop and work on your strength. And I think a big part of growing is also letting go of things that block you and not holding on to those fears and not holding on to being that victim that,
Absolutely
is in that situation. And the other thing I love that you said is, it works. Your business works when you're truly passionate about it, and it doesn't have to be hard. There are people out there who work, 12 hours a day and never take time off. And every time I see them, they're like, I'm so stressed out. My calendar is full. And I used to be that person, but I'm no longer that person. I'm the person who doesn't work on Fridays, who doesn't work on the weekends normally. And this weekend may be an exception because I'm about to go to Bali, but I have my own rules and I take the time for myself, and clients come easily. It's like a miracle, but it's only because I believe it works and because I'm in the right mindset and I know that I can help people.
Yeah, I totally feel you. I do the same. I mean, of course, sometimes I have crazy work days. So, of course, sometimes I work at the weekend, but then, it's because, the weather will be nice on Wednesday and I want to hang out at the lake or I want to hang out with my little daughter. So I think it's, what's your priority and what do you want to attract in your life? And if you stay in this concept of it's hard to earn money, work is hard, life is hard. Of course, it will be hard because this is what the universe will send you, or what you will attract in your life, or what you it's a bit this thing. If you're thinking about buying a red car, you will see red cars all the time around you. So if you're always thinking life is hard and work is hard and I have to hustle, this is what will be there in your life. But if you change this concept, and I have to admit, it's not easy to do that by yourself. I was not able to do that. And I'm so happy that I had so much support through different coaches, a good network and stuff like that. But you're willing to do the work. And I just heard that on another podcast, and it really stuck with me. The lady said, we have to do the work on the inside to see the transformation on the outside. I was like, yes, that's it. It's not the outer work which brings us success, whatever that means. It's the inner work, and then the transformation, and whatever you want to have in your life, then that can truly happen.
Yeah. And what you said about, work is so hard and business is so hard. The same is true for change. I hear that all the time. People, even my clients sometimes, they tell me it's so hard to change. It's so hard to meditate. Like if you tell yourself it's hard, it's always going to be hard. And that's why it's so important to watch your language and be really mindful about what you are telling yourself, because you would certainly not tell that someone else.
Yes,
usually.
I totally agree.
So I'm sure you've learned a lot of lessons along your way. What would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned?
I would say the biggest lesson was that I don't have to be able to do everything myself, that it's totally okay that some things take time. Yeah, trusting in the process. I think that's probably the biggest lesson I've learned so far regarding my business. And of course, I have a little daughter. She's 15 months now. Giving birth to her and raising her now, trusting into the process is probably, my mantra in a lot of different situations with her.
Yeah. Beautiful. What would you tell someone who wants to improve their health, but don't really know where to start?
I would say the first thing would be, drop all the concepts you ever heard about it, because there are so many things out there on the internet and wherever. So drop everything you know about it and check in with yourself. What is your belief about health? Because it's a bit like, what we talked about with business. Is my belief with health, I'm not worthy of it. A healthy lifestyle is no fun. It's complicated. Just check in with yourself. And then the second part would be reach out to somebody where you have the feeling they know a little bit about health or a lot, like a health coach or a good therapist or whatever, and get the help and the support you need to form your own version of health.
And I think it's important to, like you said, reach out to someone that knows something about health, but that also lives health. Because I think for me, it's horrifying, for example, to go to a restaurant and see how the chefs smoke on the back of the restaurant, or you go to the hospital and like everyone's in their break smoking. And that's not the kind of person you want to get help and health support from. So go to someone who is living that lifestyle and who has that healthy life that you want to have. And those will be the right person. Basically, reach out to Janna and me if you need help.
Well, I want to add, we are not probably perfect with that either, but it's more when we go back to the intention, we try, and, it's just a big priority in our lives. And of course, sometimes there's also, a pizza involved, and that's fine too. It's more, how you do that very authentic.
Yeah, it has to feel right all the time.
Yeah.
So we talked about glow a little bit earlier. I would love to know from you, what does living a glowing life mean to you?
Oh, it's so interesting because I love this, idea of a glow. And when I got first introduced to you, I was like, what is she talking about with a glow? And I had a look at your website. I was like, actually, we're talking basically about very similar things. We just use a different language. So for me, a glowing lifestyle would be a very healthy lifestyle, which feels, aligned with yourself, which feels good for yourself. So it's basically including all that, just living your own version of yourself and creating or designing the life you would like to have.
I love that. And for me, it's also just waking up in the morning and feeling excited about your life.
Yes, yes.
And just be so amazed by everything that's going on. So
Mm-hmm.
we talked about self-care as well a little bit. What is your non-negotiable self-care routine?
That actually changed a lot over the years. I mean, for a very long time, from my yoga and Ayurveda background, I was like, okay, my self-care routine is every morning doing my cleansing rituals, doing yoga and stuff like that. And now with a baby at home, for me, it changed more to this concept of what do I need today? And what can I do today for myself? So every day I carve out time for myself. Sometimes this is only 15 minutes. Sometimes this can be 3 hours, but it's always this kind of break during the day and seeing what do I need. Sometimes that's a nap. Sometimes that's a workout. Sometimes that might be something different, but it's always this giving myself priority and not feeling bad about it, but making it, a very, very big part of my life.
Yeah. And I love that you're not sticking to this rule where you have your perfect routine. And I think over time, self-care routines can change. And I think to all the moms out there, it's something I hear a lot. I have a child. I can't do this. Like, yes, you can do it. You have to just figure out a way how to do it. What would you say maybe to all the moms listening who feel like they can't have time for themselves? What would be your number one tip?
Just look at it from your new perspective. Of course, we don't have that much time with babies or kids around, but there are always a few minutes we can carve out and really stand up for yourself and get help. It's always amazing me too when people say, I don't have any time for myself. I'm always with the kids. So I'm always asking myself, okay, where's the partner? Where's the second person to that? And even when you're raising the kids by yourself, where's your support network? And even when you're with the kids, it's always good to just breathe deeply and make yourself a priority, because when you're not able to take care of yourself, you cannot really take good care of your kids. Just define for yourself what taking care of yourself means. This doesn't mean we have to do this 2-hour morning routine every day because somebody on Instagram, a mom with 10 kids, is doing that and looks so perfect. It can also be that it's just half an hour where you're all by yourself taking a nice shower. So always, always make yourself a priority without feeling bad about it.
Love that. And I've been seeing some cute videos on Instagram, of course, as well, where like the moms do yoga and the kid is somewhere crawling around and, maybe she does some almost like weightlifting, but with the baby. And I find that is so cute because then she's doing something for her body and for herself, even like meditation. And the kid would just be like rolling around everywhere. I think that's also a way to do it. And yeah, definitely make yourself a priority.
Yeah, and don't compare yourself. I have the feeling in the world of motherhood, there's so much pressure and there's so much comparison. Oh, my child is sleeping through already. What? Your child is not doing this and that. And this is all, very stupid actually, because every family is so unique. Every family needs something else. And maybe you can do your meditation with one kid. I honestly couldn't do it with my kid because she would climb up somewhere and probably try to jump down and get herself hurt. But just, whatever feels good to yourself and make your own rules. Doesn't matter what other people do. Not at all.
Yeah, in no way. What is your favorite healthy food?
Oh, there are so many. I like cacao. I like avocado.
Amazing. What would you say is your favorite book of all times that everyone should read?
Well, there's so many books I really, really love. One I can totally recommend is from Dr. Lisa Rankin, Mind Over Medicine. And it's really eye-opening because she's a medical doctor too. And in her book, she talks about how powerful our mind is and how much more we can do with our mind instead of, medications. And it's yeah, it's very, very well written.
Beautiful. And we'll put that in the show notes. And I would like to know from you, what are 3 things you're grateful for today?
For my happy and healthy family, I'm always super grateful. I'm grateful that I could, design my workday today as I did. So I worked a bit in the morning and I was hanging out with a friend, and now I have the chance to talk to you. And for this, I'm also very grateful that, I know you and that we were able to talk today.
Yeah, and can't wait for our next pizza together. Is there anything else you would like to share with our listeners today, Janna?
I think, we talked about so many different things, and I think you asked so good questions. So I think that's about it.
Amazing. Yeah, there's definitely so much wisdom and so much knowledge in this episode. How can everyone listening support you today?
Oh, that's a nice question, actually. So maybe you have heard it already from my accent or from the weird words I used. I'm not a native English speaker, and all my work is basically in German. So sorry for everybody listening who's not speaking German. But if you understand German, you can definitely check out my website and listen to my podcast, which is about holistic health. You find it, the name In Good Health, on iTunes, Spotify, and all these other apps we have. Yeah, and you can actually support me by just living a healthy life, because then I'm truly happy about that.
Beautiful. And we'll definitely link your podcast and your website and your social media as well in the show notes. And I think you have a free health test on your website for all the German speakers.
Yes, I created, a little health test which helps you to find out if you're at the moment a bit more in your fire energy, in your earth energy, or in your air energy. So it's an Ayurvedic test, but it's made up for modern people who live a modern lifestyle. And you can just take the test on my website and find out what kind of person or what you need at the moment. And then you get a lot of nice tips how to optimize your life.
I will go take this test right now after this episode.
Yes, please.
Love it. Thank you so much for being here today, Janna. I had such a good time talking to you, and I definitely learned a lot about the things I want to change in my life, and definitely eat more cooked foods. And yeah, just add in some more Ayurvedic wisdom into my lifestyle. So thank you so much for all the work you're doing for this world, and for yoga teachers, and for, soon to be yoga teachers, and everything you're doing, and doctors, hopefully help them see life different as well. So yeah, it's been so great chatting with you.
Thank you so much for inviting me here, and thank you for asking so thoughtful questions. That was really, really great.
Amazing. Thank you. I absolutely loved this episode. There was so much important wisdom in it, and hopefully you got so much out of it as well. So if you loved it too, please subscribe and leave me a review so that even more people can listen to these inspirational stories that we shared today. For everything we mentioned on today's episode, you can go check out the show notes at martinafink.com/podcast/21.